In the previous session, we designed a few machine language instructions, right? That is, we designed memory reference instructions, register reference instructions, and IO instructions, right? So in this session, we are going to understand those instructions clearly. That is, when we execute those instructions, what operation is going to be carried out? Which operation is going to be performed? Let us have a look at. Okay, so there are a few memory reference instructions. Those are end, add, load, store, bun, bsa, isz. Okay, and there are many register reference instructions and IO instructions. Let us have a deeper look at these instructions, and what is the operation going to be performed every time when an instruction gets executed. Let us stay focused and understand. Let me explain you people about end, add, load, store initially. Okay, now you know the operations of end, add, load, store. What is end? End is going to perform an end operation. You know that end is a bitwise operation in which two digits will get ended, right? So end truth table is 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, and 1, 1, 1. So there will be two operands are going to be ended. Finally, the result will be stored in the first operand. Here the two operands are accumulator and memory of 450. Okay, as you can clearly see, the instruction is 0 and 450. You know that the first digit, this is a mode digit, mind you, right? The first digit is a mode digit. The first digit, either it could be 0 or it could be 1. If it is 0, the address part is the direct address. The address part is going to specify a direct address. When it is 1, the address part is going to specify an indirect address, that is under which there is one more address. I'm not going to talk much about it because I explained you guys clearly in the previous session what is direct address and what is indirect address. Okay, when I perform AND 450, memory of 450 will get ended with accumulator. Let us say what is memory of 450? Go to 450. In this memory location, the contents, that is 250, will get ended with accumulator. That is the binary equivalent of 250 will get ended with accumulator. Okay, so that is, and finally the result will get transferred to accumulator. An end operation is going to be performed in between memory of 450 and accumulator, and finally the contents will get transferred into accumulator. When it is 1 and 450, this 1 is going to specify a pointer here. This 450 is going to hold another address. Now this 250 is no more an operand, rather it is going to show one more address. Okay, and under this address there is actual operand. Now you can clearly see memory of 450, memory of 450 will get ended with accumulator. Okay, now that is the thing. I'm not going to every time talk about this direct addressing mode and indirect addressing mode. Let us ignore these for a while because 0 and 1 can simply represent direct addressing mode and indirect addressing mode. Every time when a memory reference instruction is getting executed, the mode could be either a direct address or an indirect address. Okay. Now when addition is being performed, when add instruction is getting executed, an operation that is addition is going to be performed in between memory of 450 and accumulator. When it is add 450, accumulator is equal to accumulator plus memory of 450. Okay. Load 450. You know the difference between load and store instructions. What is the load instruction? This load instruction is nothing but it's going to make a transfer from the memory of 450 to the accumulator, right? Store 450. The contents of accumulator will get transferred to memory of 450. Difference between load and store, for several times we discussed in the previous sessions. Load is going to make a transfer from the memory location to accumulator. Store is from accumulator to memory location. Okay. That is clearly explained here. One fundamental rule, one more time, you need to understand, that is, whenever, I mean, not only in this architecture, in any architecture, load stands for from main memory to the processor's register. Again, load stands for main memory to processor's register. That is load. Store is what? A register to main memory. That is the difference between load and store. I'm not going to talk much about this. In the previous sessions, I clearly explained you guys about load and store instructions. Now let us stay focused in understanding the remaining important instructions in memory reference instructions. Okay, we do have more instructions in memory reference instructions. Those are BSA and BUN. Okay, let us try understanding these instructions clearly. Okay, let us understand what is BSA and what is BUN. Okay, let me talk about this BSA and BUN. For understanding this, let me take the help of your high-level language programs. As you people are the best programmers in the world, if I'm not wrong, you people know about call instructions, right? What are the call instructions? Several times you are going to execute this call instruction in your programs that you have that you write by using C or C++ or Java, right? So what is call instruction? When you try to execute this call instruction, a routine calls another routine. A routine is going to make a call to another routine. Yes or no? A routine calls another routine. When the call instruction gets executed, one routine calls another routine. Okay. For an example, when I write main, if I say call to add routine, add routine will be called, right? Add routine will be called. Okay. Now I'm going to call add routine. When I say call add, what will happen? This add routine, the control will directly transfer from this instruction to this instruction. This add will be called and the instructions within the add routine will get executed. Finally, once after the add routine gets executed, the control will take us back to the next instruction followed to the call to the add routine. Okay, so this is how a routine calls another routine. Okay, now let us stay focused. Okay, forget about it. When you perform a call instruction, when you try to execute a call instruction in the high-level language programs, the equivalent corresponding machine language instruction that is going to get executed is BSA instruction. That is, every time when you execute this call instruction, equivalent machine language instruction that is going to get executed is BSA. That is, branch and save the return address. BSA stands for what? Branch and save the return address. Let me delete this before I use this space for something else. Yeah, for giving you a clear idea about BSA instruction, let me use the help of main memory. Okay. Now let us take that this is a main memory. In the main memory, I do have something like there is a 20th instruction. In 20th instruction, I have this BSA instruction. This first digit I'm not talking about because you know what it is. 0, BSA 450. Okay. What does it mean in fact? What is BSA? BSA stands for branch and save the return address. What is branch and save the return address? Here, this is nothing but a branch instruction. This is nothing but a call instruction. Which should be called? What must be called? Here, we are branching to 450th location of the main memory. We are branching to 450th location of the main memory. Why we are branching to 450th location of the main memory? Because there is a subroutine starting from 450th location. Okay, that is the reason why we are branching to 450th location. This is a call routine. This is a calling routine. This is a call routine. Now we are branching to 450th location. There is a subroutine. There is a subroutine. Here, let us say there is a subroutine. Okay. Now let us say I went to 450th location and I executed this subroutine. From 450 to 460, let us say, I will write here. This is 460. Between 450 and 460, there is a subroutine available. I will execute this subroutine. Now, after I execute the subroutine, what I should do? Of course, we should branch back to the previous routine, which was a calling routine. After the subroutine is executed, we should return back to the calling routine. This is a calling routine. This is a call routine. After the call routine is executed, we should return back to the calling routine. Okay. That is how the control is going to take care of these routines. Once again, there is a routine and there is a subroutine. When routines branches to a subroutine, after the subroutine gets executed, we should be able to go back to the routine, main routine, which calls a subroutine. Okay. Now, how it is going to happen? Stay focused. We need to branch to 450. Right? We are going to branch to 450. But we don't directly branch to 450. There is one more thing that is needed to be done. Branch and save the return address. But before branch to 450, don't forget to save the return address. What is saving the return address? The return address is the next address. Let us say this is the next address. Okay, I will use an eraser tool to make it more clear. Okay, now the next next address is 21. Okay, the program counter value is 21. When 20th instruction is getting executed, 21 will be the next instruction. But what is the 20th instruction? The 20th instruction is a branch instruction. When we branch to 450, we should be able to save this program counter value that is also called as a return address. Okay. If we don't say, what happens? We go to subroutine, we'll execute a subroutine, but we don't know where to come back, right? But what is the fundamental rule? After executing the subroutine, you should return back to the previous routine, which actually makes a call, makes a subroutine call. So for that purpose, we should be able to save our return address, okay, in some location. Now let us stay focused once again. What way the sequence of steps are going to take place, sequence of operations that are going to take place. Now, so far so good. Till 19th instruction, the program is executing very smoothly. But 20th instruction is a branch instruction. This instruction is asking us to branch to 450, but before that, we should be able to save this program counter value. So we saved the program counter value. What is the purpose of saving the program counter value? In order to return back after the subroutine is executed, we should return back to the previous calling routine. How we know where to return back exactly? Program counter value is going to tell you from where the actual routine is suspended. Okay, after 20th instruction, the routine is suspended, then we branch to subroutine. For that reason, we are saving a program counter value in some buffer. Let us say this is a buffer. In a buffer, I stored it. After executing the subroutine, I branched to 450. I saved this 21 in a buffer, 450 to 460. The subroutine is there. The subroutine is executed. After executing the subroutine, I should be able to go back to the previous routine. That is, I need to start my execution from 21st instruction. For that, I need to go to that buffer in which the program counter value has been saved. Going to that buffer, getting this program counter value, I will be able to return back to the previous routine which was suspended, from where the instructions are at a halt. Okay, now try to understand where to save the program counter value. This is an important thing to understand, where to save our program counter value whenever you are making a branch instruction. Okay, I told you a buffer, but what is this buffer? Exactly what is it? Okay, the computer provides which provision to store the program counter value. Okay, we're going to understand about it, where we are going to save the program counter value in the next session.